Organic goes so much further than just what you're putting in your body, which is important. I mean, you don't want to be putting harmful chemicals in your body, but it has such a greater impact on the environment. I think the more people support organic, the more they're voting for like a more resilient food system.
I like to think of organic farming and the work I do as a real conversation with nature. The more that I can understand and work with her, I think the better off we'll all be. And the research I've done and the thinking that I've done about this, there is no other way for us to get through this unless we start better caring for our soil. It's a source of resilience, it's a source of fertility, it's a source of nutrient and water cycling. Everything that I do as a farmer rests on how I care for my soil.
It's living plants that put carbon in the soil much more than dead plants. While that plant is growing, it's actually sending carbon into the soil that feeds the microbes, and then the microbes feed the plant.
It's really all about cover cropping. The cover crop, as it's growing, it's basically assimilating that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into its biomass to create that biomass. If you do a tillage operation, what's happening is you're taking all that biomass and you're putting it into the soil, and then bacteria are quickly decomposing that biomass. But a lot of that carbon just ends up in the air again as CO2. The bacteria are consuming it and they're breathing. But with the no-till system, all of that biomass stays on the soil surface. So you're relying more on a fungal decomposition. And the fungal decomposition basically retains more of that carbon, gets that carbon back into the soil instead of putting it back into the air.
If you're eating beef from a commercial, mainstream, big box grocery store, you are contributing to global warming because of all the transportation of the animals to the feedlots, transporting all the corn that uses all the pesticides and all the fertilizers on the field, transporting that to the feedlot. At our farm, where the cattle are always on pasture, yes, they do produce a little methane as they burp and ruminate, but because of all the hoof action and moving the nutrients back into the soil, they're actually sequestering more carbon than they are in carbon greenhouse gas emissions. We would have a cow herd because of the benefit to the soil, even if they didn't produce such awesome tasting food.
This pandemic has really brought home to me, and I think to a lot of people, how important farmers are. The local farms are in a position to feed people in a way that the grocery stores are not necessarily as capable of doing.
If I can control what my animals eat, where they're grazed, how they're cared for, then I have built certainty into my system, which means that I can provide that certainty to my customers and my community and ultimately to our world.
Farming conventionally gives you some very good short-term gains. I mean, you could spray herbicide and kill your weeds. I mean, we battled weeds really heavily the first few years until we got them under control. We don't want to be creating super pests. We want to be creating really biologically active farms.
If you care about your family, if you care about your community, and if you care about your world, then by virtue of those three things, you care about soil. And organic farming is a way to provide support and stability and resilience and vitality and a healthy future for all of us.